Good evening, everyone. I'm going to use my principal's voice. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Mrs. Maida.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stand for a moment of silence.
Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Burton? Ms. Green? Dr. Henderson? Here. Mr. Howard?
Here.
Mr. Levenstein? Ms. Maida?
Here.
Ms. Mineo?
Here.
Mr. Stridiron?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Board members, we're going to do a little bit of changing of things with your permission. We're going to do retirees, math meet, CLR children, and in between we're going to have the band come in. We're going to have the madrigals sing. So we have a lot of really great things to do. And then we're going to do the public speaking first, and then we'll go into exec, okay? This way, those of us that are young enough that can go to bed early, and girls that code, I forgot you all, sorry. Those of us that go to bed early maybe can get there and go to bed. So, you ready, Mr. Fortune? You're on.
Thank you, Madam President. This evening, I'm going to turn over our recognition of retirees to Mr. McLemore and Mrs. Van.
Thank you, Mr. Forget. On behalf of the Interim Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Forget, Board President Carol Mineo, Board Vice President Philip Howard, and members of the Board of Education, congratulations on your retirement milestone. It is important for us to thank and recognize those of you that are heading into retirement. Can you remember the first time that you started? Retirement was probably nothing you thought about. Now that you're here, you're probably excited about beyond belief. You have worked for this organization for many years, simultaneously giving your best and giving your all. The success of this organization has been built with your dedication, your commitment, and your willingness to endure, and through the years, you've never let us down. You were with us before the pandemic and through the pandemic, while balancing your personal family matters. It is employees like you that make a difference to the New Bergen Large City School District and also to our scholars. We will miss you. We will miss your good work. And so we would like to thank you for all of your good work and thank you for all that you have contributed to this organization. We would like to give you a token of our appreciation on today, and the madrigals orchestrated by Jillian Cassie would like to honor you with one song. We want to wish you well. We hope that you enjoy and find new meanings beyond work, because retirement can be the most meaningful years of your life. You deserve all the best, and our wish is that you may find it. Congratulations to all of our retirees. So Sarah Van is going to read the names of all of the retirees, and when you hear your name, I'd like for you to stop by here to see me, and I want to give you a token of appreciation. And then if you proceed up to the front where the board president, Carol Maneo, will be standing, we would like to get a picture. And while you're standing, I hope that you can stand this long. It won't be that long. Where the Madrigals are going to sing a retirement song to you. Sarah Van.
Mario Acosta, 17 years of service. Blair Below, 25 years of service. Concheta Bolio, 21 years of service. Deborah Boulay, 16 years of service. Venetia Bowman, 20 years of service, 23 years of service. Regina Brown, 37 years of service. Jillian Cassie, 33 years of service. Carmen Calderon, 18 years of service. Eileen Carr, 20 years of service. Patricia Cavallo, 16 years of service. Rosemarie Ciccaroni, 21 years of service. Gail Gigi Sinante, 17 years of service. Randy Codet, 36 years of service. Carla Costanzo, 33 years of service. Erin Creasy, 26 years of service. Peter Degli Angeli, 20 years of service. Enrique Delgado, 24 years of service. Eileen Dowd, 10 years of service. Pamela Dunleavy, 24 years of service. Dennis Easton, 22 years of service. Patricia Favino, 27 years of service. Vilma Fernandez, 30 years of service. Ann Fisk, 27 years of service. William Grace, 20 years of service. Karen Greenblatt, 27 years of service. Laura Johnson, 23 years of service. Jamie Jones, 24 years of service. Michael Jones, 33 years of service. Pamela Krisek, 16 years of service.
Maria Lattimore, 21 years of service. Joanne Lugo, 40 years of service. Deborah Mahusky, 24 years of service. Angel Mangeli, 33 years of service. Veronica Marin, 30 years of service. Robin Marks, 14 years of service. Paul Matthews, 29 years of service. Burnell McKenzie, 18 years of service. Karen Mills, 33 years of service. David Mills, 36 years of service. Irina Moorhead, 22 years of service. James Nee, 30 years of service. Lillian Paz, 31 years of service. Helen Perez, 22 years of service. Jeannie Piat, 20 years of service. You're welcome. Thank you. Melissa Pelegi, 16 years of service. Colleen Riley, 32 years of service. Karen Roberts, 23 years of service. Alfred Robinson, 20 years of service. Idalia Roman, 27 years of service. Kimmarie Safiori, 27 years of service. Dale Salisbury, 32 years of service. David Scott, 31 years of service. Darlene Skibitsky, 24 years of service. Willa Stevens Wilson, 16 years of service. Don Stahl, 6 years of service. Jason Strum, 27 years of service. Stacy Sutter, 12 years of service. Leonard Swanson, 16 years of service. Heidi Tannenbaum, 20 years of service. Anna Marie Tinelli, 24 years of service. Michael Troncali, 20 years of service. Susan Van Amberg, 33 years of service. Raymond Van Inwigen, 10 years of service. Barbara Watt, 26 years of service. And Amy Wright, 27 years of service.
So as the madrigals are coming, oh, there you are. On behalf of Stacy Moran, the NTA president, and also Joseph Ammons, they extend their heartfelt wishes to you and a happy retirement and wish you the best as well. And as Jillian Cassie is coming forth, I want to read this to you. Because you are retired, you can do what you want, when you want, because you are retired. We would like. Oh, okay. Go ahead. You want me in it?
Mr. Acosta, is Mr. Smith still teaching there? He is. Dude, I really thought he'd be good. No, he's gonna be there forever. Honestly, I'm pretty sure of that. He ain't going anywhere. Good to see you. Good to see you, yeah. So he was my. No, he's chilling. This guy's running two guys. For fifth grade. They're too much you don't appreciate. And everything. I'm like, oh. I couldn't like this is what you say. I was like, he has it. Still there.
Congratulations, retirees, and remember, we're always looking for substitutes, and next year we'll be here before you know it. So don't go too far. At this time, I'd like to welcome Ms. Linda Keach to present to us some of the fine and performing arts students who have excelled this year. Ms. Keach.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to allow us to celebrate some of our fine and performing arts students this evening. Congratulations to all the retirees, 3 of which come from our department, Miss Cassie, Miss Wright, and Miss Dunleavy. So congratulations to you guys. So the first thing that we're going to do is to recognize the students this year that participated in the all-county festivals. We were able to get all of the festivals in except for the senior high one that got canceled due to weather, unfortunately, but they still were recognized. So we have students that participated in the elementary band and chorus, the junior high band, chorus, and orchestra, the senior high band, chorus, and orchestra, and the jazz. And teachers have certificates for all the students, and some of them are here this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. So all students that participated in the all-county festivals, please stand and be recognized. Congratulations so much to all of you. There was actually more than 50 of them, so I didn't know if we were going to get all of them this evening or not. So at this time, the second thing that we're going to do is present our new marching band uniforms that debuted this year at the Memorial Day parades. So while they're getting ready, this process actually took about 16 months, start to finish. It takes actually that long to design and get new uniforms. They were custom made for us by the Fred J. Miller Company, and they were designed exclusively for Newburgh by the world-renowned pageantry designer Michael Cesario. This is going to be exhilarating. Get ready. All right, so please join me in welcoming the NFA Marching Band under the direction of Mr. Chris Zudis, assisted by Dr. Paul Carroll and Mr. Ethan Gutzeit.
And getting this together, the design of the uniform, she was a big help with that. And without her, we wouldn't have this. Don't they look gorgeous?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
They really do. We're going to do one tune for you. This is My Country, a little patriotic music tonight. Okay, here we go. Before.
Not leaving.
Thank you so much once again for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zudis. Thank you, Ms. Keach. At this time, we'd like Mr. Fiorentino to come to the podium and present Math Meet Awards to our scholars.
Thank you, Mr. Forget. So, good evening. Good evening, Madam President, Mr. Forget, members of the board and community. I am Chris Fiorentino, the Director of Math. As the Director of Math, I get the opportunity to acknowledge some of our wonderful scholars for their achievements at our math meets. During the 2021-2022 school year, we had 5 math meets that occurred throughout the year. During our first meet, we actually selected a slogan, which was "Mistakes Allow Thinking to Happen." During these meets, 5th grade scholars from each of the 9 elementary schools were placed on teams that represented the district and competed by working collaboratively to solve word problems based on New York State math standards. I'd like to thank the building leaders, elementary math specialist, and assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, Ms. Moriarty, for their work and support for this unique opportunity. Also, a special thanks to Zoe Matthews and Allison Kahn. These 2 amazing educators did a wonderful job of creating excitement around mathematics. I was able to attend each math meet and got to see the results of their hard work. They did a phenomenal job of creating an amazing energy around math. If you had the opportunity to be there, you could feel the positive energy in the room. So tonight, I have the distinct honor to present our district's first place team for the 2021-2022 school year. So at this time, if Mr. Forget and Ms. Mineo could please come up to acknowledge the scholars. So, scholars, when you come up, you're going to come up to me first, shake my hand, then go over to Mr. Forget and Ms. Mineo and receive your certificate. Please remain up front the whole time, and then we can acknowledge the whole team at once. And the first name being called up actually gets to proudly hold up the team banner. So at the first meet, they each made their own banners. So the first one kind of gets a little bonus there. So our first student is Liam Paredes. Here you go, Liam. Give you that, sir, and you get to hold that. And you get one of these that you're going to need in middle school. There you go, hold that up. All right. So head right up there. Next is Jack Horton. Sir. Jason Leonard. Okay. Natalia Santiago. Hayden Ramos. All right, with our turn section. There you go. I'll put that on. Adam Vandelinda. Joshua Hagwood. Nicholas Abreu. and Jack Najera España. There you go. So head on up there. Yep. All right. Sorry, I had a little accident in the car, so Jack's medal we'll fix Jack's medal. So these are our 2021-2022 Math Meet winners. Congratulations. Thank you for a great year, and we wish you guys the best of luck in middle school. You're going to need those calculators.
Thank you, Mr. Fiorentino. At this time, we're going to turn the presentation over to Mrs. Moriarty, who is going to introduce the next presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Forget. As we continue with the celebrations this evening, I'm overjoyed to introduce to you Miss Martha Young, Miss Maria Cepeda, fourth grade bilingual teacher at GAMS, and a few of their students. Tonight, they will share a presentation and a celebration of learning that was created when Miss Young and Miss Cepeda came to a coaching session together, a coaching cycle. I would also like to highlight Ms. Young for her work in the CRE, the Culturally Relevant Education cohort with Dr. Hunter, who we'll have a good fortune to hear from in a little while. I do not want to steal the show from these amazing students who are here to present their culminating projects. So without hesitation, I introduce to you Ms. Young, Ms. Cepeda, and some of their students. Welcome.
Well, good evening. I am super excited to be here tonight. Okay, this way. Maybe a little, okay. So a little bit about our relationship, right? So as a coach this year, as an instructional coach, I had the pleasure and privilege of meeting Ms. Cepeda at GAMS. And our work started with looking at what area of instruction would we want to focus on as an area of inquiry. And we decided to look at writing, right? The writing process of English language learners that are learning to write in both languages, Spanish and English.
Yes, and I want, I don't need to even touch that. Good evening. So yes, I'm Mrs. Cepeda. I'm the fourth grade bilingual teacher at Gidney Avenue School, and I had the pleasure and honor, I like to preface, it's an honor to work with Martha Young. I've gotten to know her a little better this time, but she has always been our guru for bilingual education. I'm just one example of many, many, many bilingual teachers here in the district. So we really, as soon as we hear Miss Young, we're signing up. So right now, right here today, I signed up because of her and because my students guide my whole life here in Newburgh. I wasn't raised here, I wasn't born in this country, so for me, this is very special. So from then on, the intentions of having this program that now is called a program, I'm like, oh, it's just an activity. But this writing journey and allowing, like the district allowing us to be able to be present and to make this possible in our classrooms is just a highlight for me as an educator. So thank you. Oh, this is my part? Okay, here we go. The challenge is to discover who they are now and who they want to be and who they can be while holding on to all the cherish about home and family. So really, it just came down to that. Very simple. What their home life was, what was important to them, and mainly it was their family and family supporting them. Once we saw that, and it just like flourished. So I really commend the families. I know they are here, right there. Están aquí juntos con nosotros celebrando este momento because it is a celebration.
So we started, one of our main focus was thinking about identity, right, and how important that is. And throughout the journey this academic year, I think one of the things that the writing journey gave the students and it gave us was a sense of classroom community. And also as the project progressed throughout the academic year, also a sense of belonging, not just I think in the classrooms, but also to the building and community at large. One of the important things I think in the writing process, much of the writing that we do in class, we do just in class, and no one else really gets to see it. And you'll see, I think with this project, it's giving students the ability to share writing with each other and other classrooms, and then given the opportunity to get that sense of authorship, right? So having that voice not just with each other as peers, but also beyond that, I think was critical in the success of this. So part of the pride, I think what was great about this was that after the work was completed, so the work started in September, beginning early with the writing process. By the end, this was last Wednesday, we asked students to volunteer. There were 6 students who volunteered to read their stories as guest authors in classrooms K through 5. So 6 students traveled through Gitney Avenue School, through GAMS, and read their stories at a kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And it gave really just them an authentic experience with their writing. And what was really exciting was that as they read their stories, and I would be, if I were a 4th grader, honestly, a little nervous about reading to students I did not know and to a teacher I had not met, was that they read their stories and then the classroom teachers engaged in a questioning the author process, where they usually do that with text, right? So you question what the writer's thinking, what the theme is, what the conflict is. But in this case, they had the author right there in front of them and were able to ask questions of the author and engage in that.
I don't think my fellow coworker knew she was going to be here presenting right there. So there's like 2 of them. So kudos to them, but yes. So this picture says a lot, and we can read the bullet points, but really what I want to emphasize on this is that so there's like a little boy, maybe a little bit like just looking at her very intensely, right? So that's his sister. They came to this country not very long ago. She would still wear her jacket. She has a red jacket that one of our other teachers, not in bilingual, gave to her, and she wore like every single day, even the day that it was like 89 degrees. We just leave it. I asked her if you want to take it off. So she showed up to school without the jacket. And I just was like, wow, she's like blossomed, she's transforming, and her brother is just observing, who actually had a really difficult time just being in that 1st grade classroom. I don't need to go into details, but he's just in like awe of his sister. And that's just planting a seed. Like, I don't even need to describe anymore. That just did it. I'm like full speed, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. So we have Justin.
All right.
So
yes, that's your name, Justin.
Yes, sir.
Come on.
And this is what you guys been waiting for.
So you can tell them the name of your book, and then you can tell them maybe like what inspired you, like what were these thoughts, ideas? How did to write your book?
The name of my book is The Boy That Got Hit by Lightning. And what inspired me to do this was because when I was little, I was sick and my mom went to the doctor to grab medicine, and when she gave it to me, I reacted and I fainted. So I made the character in the story faint, but not like the way that I fainted, a different way.
You want to read maybe your favorite part? Oh, just whack this, I think. You want to read your favorite part?
My favorite part was Kevin's dad called an ambulance, but the problem was that the hospital was 2 hours away. While the ambulance got to the beach, Kevin's dad tried to wake up Kevin's mom and Kevin at 3 p.m. the ambulance got to the beach. This is my favorite part because my parents, they were separated, and I was like in school, I was feeling down, and then my parents, they got back together, and in school, I got rid, and then I was getting better grades and everything. So, and then here's the dad trying to help, like, the mom and the son. So that's my favorite part.
Thank you. That was real. That was not in the pages. All right, so now we have Iker. Come on up. Oh, it's yeah, you want me to hold it?
No, you can hold it.
About the author. Hi, my name is Zach and I'm 9 years old. I was born on October 4th, 2012. When I was 2 years old, they detected my thyroid, so that means I have problems of growing, but that could kill me. So my parents went to a lot of places to find something. But the cure was expensive, so my grandpa gave us all his money because he worked on a farm, but he had cancer, so he died. I only met him for 1 month. The only place that had the cure was in the United States of America. So I grew up in the USA.
Sure did.
What do you want to say about his book?
Did you want to say anything about your book?
What it was about?
The title and maybe.
My book is called The Dream, and it's about a kid that everything he dreams comes true, but he hits his head hard and begins to have nightmares. So he calls him a magician, and there's a little guy named Hector working inside of him, but he did not tell his magician, so he performed the wrong spell, and then he had worse nightmares. So he got tired of those and goes to a very good tree, and the tree gives him a blessing and he dreams again.
So last Wednesday, when students were presenting, they presented in classrooms in the morning, and then in the middle of the day, we went to the courtyard so that students would have the opportunity to read to each other in different groups so that they, like not all students felt comfortable enough, of course, to do it right in the large group. So we were in the courtyard reading to each other, and this was super exciting to see because not only did they read to each other, they also both wrote book reviews that they reflected on after this reading. And I think one of the important things as we work with all children, not just English language learners, is thinking about the child that we're creating into an adult, right? So always keeping that in the forefront. So for bilingual, or the children I work with, knowing that they're capable of becoming bilingual, biliterate, knowing that they're capable of higher order thinking, that they're creative and imaginative, that they're capable of creating literature and art, generating new knowledge, and really thinking about and finding solutions to social issues. So although this was just a narrative, right, the more we read and reread their stories, we know that there's layers of meaning. in each one of those stories. And then at the end of, well, almost the end of the day, students wrote a reflection based on where they felt they were as writers to where they had grown. And we won't read this one aloud, it's a little long, but the idea that, and you see the connection between their love of writing now and also their love of reading. So it's very reciprocal in nature. And some more, these are some of my favorites. Some of them are funny, a little sad, but I used to be the pitiful one in 3rd grade, but now I am the writer of my book, and I am not ashamed. Now I am a kid who has passion for writing books. I write books with a lot of love and passion, and you could be like me too. I have a question. How do you feel when you write? That one was written by Egan. Bien,
So this was Ms. Young's idea. No, really, because I feel like my classroom is a celebration every single day. This one we stepped out of our classroom, and she created awards, and they were very intentional and with purpose, and they were so well, just displayed. It was an honor for them to receive that. So we just celebrated with just giving them their awards and their certificates for acknowledging their hard work, because it took a couple of months. Yeah.
And the student interviews you can watch on the agenda. Well, where we interviewed a few students so you can hear them speak about their process. And we just wanted to give you a shot of the entire class. There's 26 English language learners in this class. And also give credit to the art teacher who was, after they finished writing the stories and editing and those pieces, the art teacher, Ms. Lemp, worked with teaching them the connection between illustration and text. And that work was done in the art class. And ending with our...
And for This Is Our World, we made it from stories. So thank you for allowing us to present this evening. It truly is an honor to be working with Ms. Young and then presenting here. But really, our guidance, I think this is why we get along.
Yeah.
I think that our guide is really them, like the students and the family. It has nothing to do with me. Like, this was all them, and I want to give them all the credit and the acknowledgement here in front of you all. Así que muchas gracias. Ustedes fueron mi inspiración, y a las familias, porque sin ustedes no podemos hacer posible. So thank you. That's for you.
Thank you to all of you. So true joy in the classroom and seeing the whole process through. Thank you.
No, not yet, Ms. Moriarty. We have one more presentation tonight. Mrs. Carolyn, Girls That Code.
Thank you very much. So just a little background on the Newburgh Girls Code Club. In 2019, a small group of us thought it would be a great idea to reactivate our library's coding club to impact, influence, and teach young girls at a critical and impressionable time in their lives, the middle and high school years. With generous funding from the Rowley Foundation Fund for Women and Children, the library has been able to create, innovate, and expand upon the initial plans for the program, and tonight you will see a small sampling of what these incredible future leaders of America have learned. I do want to thank, over these last 3 years, Yulia Ovchinnikova, who's the CEO of Open Hub, a local innovative technology firm. She directs our coding component. Anusha Mihar, founder of Panjaculture, which is a socially aware think tank. She directs our podcasting component. Our Youth Services Department, Taylor Beach and Lisa Kochek, for their outreach and engagement. Shanna White and Cindy Vaccaro are our coding instructors, one of which is a graduate of your P-Tech program, Cindy Vaccaro. And Ethan Harrison, who is our audio engineer for podcasting. So many hands make awesome, creative, and innovative work in service to the youth of our community. So let's meet 3 of the members of the Newburgh Free Libraries, the Newburgh Girls Code Club.
Thank you all so much for letting us present our code club. Some of the things that we have been learning in Newburgh Girls Who Code is computer science principles such as variables, conditionals, loops, and functions. Some of the important things that Newburgh Girls Who Code that has taught us is leadership and collaboration and working through our difficult problems together, such as if someone needs to debug a coding program, we can all brainstorm together on what's wrong with it and how to fix it. And sometimes it can be very hard for young kids, teenagers, to find like a community, and Newburgh Girls Who Code has really helped us all find like that sisterhood, that community. And Newburgh Girls Who Code encourages bravery, and without Newburgh Girls Who Code, I don't think I would be able to be up here doing this whole presentation without it, because it has made me feel confident and in my work. And it has definitely helped all of us a lot. Keone?
Good evening. My name is Keone Ann Mamie Mortimer. I'm a 10-year-old 5th grade homeschool student. I've been coding for a little over a year, and I started Girls Code Club in the fall. Python has been very fun to learn and use. I like that there's so much typing and actually coding with Python. Since I learned to use that language, I've made a few chatbots. For those who don't know what a chatbot is, it's like someone who you talk to, but on the computer. Using another program language called Scratch, I feel good sharing my interests there because there are so many other children also coding, and we comment and discuss the things we build. It's so much fun. Here's an example of a quick program I made from scratch for fun. I also like the freedom that I get to do whatever I think of when I'm coding. I don't have this much freedom with other types of creativity. This program is a quiz I made about my most favorite subjects, cats. First things first, what do you want us to call you? Meow, hi. Do you know about cats? Let's test your knowledge with this quiz. First things first, what do you want us to call you? Type it below.
Alyssa.
Okay, nice. Alyssa. Let us get started. True or false? Cats purr when they are stressed.
True.
Yay, correct. Cats purr when they are happy and stressed. How long do house cats usually live? A, 10 years, B, 15 years, or C, 20 years?
B.
Correct. Is there such thing as a fishing cat, yes or no?
I think yes.
Actually, there is a thing called a fishing cat. A, Tom is an A, boy cat, or a B, girl cat?
I think A.
Correct. This might be a bit hard. What do you call a girl cat? A, queen, B, girl cat, or C, there is no name for a girl cat?
A, I think.
That was close. A girl cat is called a queen. Where is my crown?
So that probably happened because sometimes coding can be very finicky, whereas if it's uppercase or lowercase, it'll be like, no, that's wrong. So I'm assuming that's what happened here.
True or false? Cats have 9 lives.
Let's just say yes.
Incorrect. They only have 1.
I mean, yeah, it seems like they have 9 lives, though.
Last one. Can cats eat corn? Yes or no?
No? Don't they only eat meat?
Incorrect. Cats eat and love corn.
They do?
If you got them all right, you get 100. If you got most of them right, you get 80. If you got most of them wrong, you get a 50. Great job. all those who got the most of right and all right, your reward is an invisible machine that can translate cat language, and it comes in one color, invisible.
So this is the project that Keone created all by herself. And if you look here, this is created with blocks. Now, this is created with blocks, so instead of actually using words like you would in Python, you just drag and drop blocks and put in your word commands like this. And even though it looks simple, it's actually pretty advanced, but it's a good starter. This is what I learned with in the beginning. And now we are going to show Keone's riddle chatbot.
And we're going to do the first, three questions on this one. Hi, I am Kiki. I read books way too much. First, tell me your name.
Alyssa.
I like that. I'm going to tell you some riddles, and you need to figure them out. Riddle number 1. In a one-story house, the walls are yellow, the floors are yellow, and the furniture is yellow, but the stairs are not yellow. What color are the stairs?
There are no stairs. Oh.
Correct. I follow you every time, copy your every move, but you cannot touch or catch me. What am I?
I don't know, a cat? I feel like that would be a cat.
No, that's not correct. The answer is your shadow.
So we're not going to continue showing all of these because we simply don't have time for it. But if you look into the chatbot, you can see that Keone uses functions where the print is a pre-coded Python function. And then she used variables where answer equals input. And she uses conditionals such as if, then, else. And even though this seems pretty simple, in retrospect, it takes a lot of time. And if you so much as miss like a semicolon, it'll be like, no, that's wrong. We're not going to work. And now it is time for Lila.
Okay. Hi, I'm Layla. I just turned 15. I'm homeschooled, and this is my second time participating in the Newburgh Girls Code Club. This club has really changed my life for the better. I've become more ambitious, and I even aspire to become my own boss. And when I do, thanks to this program, I know how to create my own website for my business.
Okay, now show us some of what you knew how to do.
Okay, so this is my website, Learn with Layla, and this is kind of showing you what it would be like if I officially made a website. So I coded in multiple pages, such as a home page, a cooking page, and this just contains recipes for beginner cooks like myself, and it has links in it because since I don't know how to cook, I've done my research and looked at I've looked at other people's recipes, and I've weeded out ones that made cooking easier for me, so I put it all on a website to help other people. And I also coded it so the heading is actually a link to the recipe for that preferred meal, and if you click it, it'll bring you to that page. Okay, so now on to my chatbot. The purpose of this is if you just feel like you've been endlessly scrolling through these recipes and still haven't figured out what to eat, then you try this chatbot and you see if it helps. So now we're going to demo it.
Hello, I assume you're here because you can't decide on what you should make to eat. Luckily for you, my purpose is to help you solve this dilemma. All you have to do is answer 2 or more questions. Let's get started. Are you in the mood for something sweet or savory?
Savory.
So you're not in the mood for dessert, but instead some real food. I understand that completely. A few more questions, and I'll give you some recipes to make. Which appeals to you more, breakfast or lunch/dinner?
Lunch/dinner.
All right, we're one step closer to giving you some recipes. Does this meal include bread? Say yes or no.
Yes.
Should the recipe be vegetarian, no meat, or can they include meat? Type include or exclude.
We're gonna exclude meat.
Based on your preferences, it appears that you're looking for an after breakfast recipe that includes bread but excludes meat. So go check out the vegetarian subsection of the lunch/dinner section of the website. Thank you for interacting with this chatbot. I hope you find something to eat.
Okay, and then you would follow the directions. So it says to go to the lunch/dinner section and then to the vegetarian section. And then there would be a bunch of recipes here for you to look at. And that's my project.
And then if we go into the cooking chatbot, which is this part, and then this is the part where you can actually look at both the actual code and the output. So once again, we can see that there is a pre-coded Python function. There is also variables, and there is also conditionals, which is if, then, else, if. And some of the variables that you can see is if answer equals sweet. So food item is one of the variables. And then she also was able to incorporate a string. Did not mean to do that. But if you see here, it says str and then food item plus go to plus string food item, which is what does the whole like cookies, cake, or other part. And pretty much that is all that we have created. And one of the important takeaways of Newburgh Girls Who Code is that it's really important how you can, like, we've learned so much. We've learned how to rely on each other and be okay to share our projects, our works, even works in progress. And yeah, sometimes it can be scary, but as Yulia has once said many, many times, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And I have taken that to 150%. And I think that Newburgh Girls Who Code is an amazing resource for people to find just community and friends that have the same interests as you. And one story that we heard at graduation was a chatbot and line story. So Skyla's mom, who came up at graduation to share how she was waiting in line for professional services and decided to try their website, came across a chatbot on the website, and then her daughter commented, "Oh, we're learning how to code those in Newburgh Girls Who Code, Mom." And then her daughter realized that then the mom realized that her daughter is learning highly current and employable skills. So making things like these chatbots can help us get into positions in IT, coding websites, being a freelance computer designer, etc. And it's really cool that, because if you think about it, tech is going to continue to grow forever. It's not something that's just going to go away. I mean, not unless we somehow get a time machine back to Jurassic Age. And I think that is everything. Keone, Lila, any final comments? I think that is everything. Thank you all so much for letting us present.
Great job, girls. Amazing. So if you could give it up again for Alyssa Stinson. Your certificate on the assistant superintendent. Keone Mortimer. And Layla Best. Newburgh Girls Code Club.
Hey, folks. I just wanted to let you know that this program does not only exist during the school year, but we extended it during COVID into a summer program as well, which we thought was particularly meaningful at a time when students were not able to connect in person and were struggling, like so many individuals, with not having community that they could build with face-to-face. So we crafted a part virtual, part in-person, together apart program for students to engage that they endeavored in exploration outdoors, in mindfulness, meditation, yoga, coding, of course, as the staple, and also storytelling and podcasting to share stories in our community. And we will be executing that program again this summer in mid-July for 2 weeks. It's a 2-week intensive code camp, and we really look forward to sharing that opportunity with you, and we hope that you amplify it so that more students in our district are reached and can continue learning these valuable skills. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Carolyn, for all the hard work you're doing down in the library. At this time, Mrs. Moriarty will be introducing our next presenter.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Forget. So as mentioned earlier this evening, I have the great pleasure, along with Ms. Soto and Mr. Woody, to introduce and welcome virtually Dr. Javon Hunter. Dr. Hunter has been providing professional development on culturally relevant education in the district since 2019, and we have recently expanded his work with a new cohort of teachers. Ms. Martha Young was one of them. And this evening, I'm pleased to introduce him to you so that he can highlight in greater detail the work that he has done and that he will be collaborating, continuing with the district. So, Dr. Hunter, good evening.
Good evening, Mrs. Moriarty. Can you hear me? Can folks hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I appreciate it. Mrs. Moriarty, do you want to show the presentation?
It's
Or should I show it from my computer?
the presentation's up. I'm not sure if you can see that, but we can see you and we can see the presentation.
All right, we'll go with that. And I'll just ask that you advance the slides, so that'll be fine. So greetings, everyone, to the board members, to parents, students, faculty, and staff. Greetings from Buffalo, New York. I'm really pleased to be here with you this evening for these next few minutes, just to share with you some of the work that I've had the pleasure of working alongside your wonderful teachers in Newburgh, as well as the students, as we look to implement culturally relevant education within the school district. What I'm going to do is give you just a brief presentation in ways of what we've done, and also extend an invitation at the very end as we continue on with our work. So, as Mrs. Moriarty mentioned, my name is Dr. Javon Hunter. I am the Woods Beals Endowed Chair for Urban Education at SUNY Buffalo State. In my heart of hearts, I'm a former high school ELA in California, and I've been working with teachers here in the state of New York for about 12 years now. So, next slide. So, as Mrs. Moriarty had mentioned, my work with Newburgh teachers actually started in the winter of 2019 through a partnership with Ulster BOCES. And that's where I had the opportunity to meet a group of teachers, as well as Dr. Pedro Roman, who invited me to think more deeply about ways that I can be integrated within the district to help teachers think about ways to implement culturally relevant teaching. So We actually began some planning discussions at the beginning of spring 2020. As folks might remember, that's when COVID hit and many of our school districts had to pivot. And so a lot of our discussions were put on hold as school districts were meeting the needs of our students and our families. But those discussions quickly got back on track, initially with under the leadership of Shante Brooks, Principal Shante Brooks over at South Middle School, who invited me in the winter and spring of 2021 to facilitate a book study. And then during the summer of 2021, I had the opportunity to work alongside a group of teachers to help reimagine the My Brother's Keeper curriculum redesign. And that was a really fascinating time to rethink how we could do some work. I have some images at the end that I'll share with you. And one of your board members, I believe Mr. Howard, I'm not sure if Mr. Howard remembers, you were there. I remember you, Mr. Howard. You were there during our celebration at the very end of the event where we had our young men present some of their projects.
Yes.
From there, we continued our work with Newburgh with some virtual training and curriculum integration with the South Middle School faculty, as well as some in-person and virtual training with the broader district. And yes, folks, I made multiple trips from Buffalo. It's about a 6-hour drive, 5.5-hour drive. And each time I found myself in Newburgh, it was a wonderful experience. The way that I do culturally relevant teaching is through the process of inquiry. So what we do is I teach our teachers how to help our young people do investigations that center the community. So it's not that I'm bringing in culturally relevant teaching where we're looking at something national or international that's happening, but how can we do it where we study our own communities? Because I remember some of my most successful lessons when I was teaching was when I could talk about what took place on different corners of the neighborhoods in which the young people I taught actually lived. So the work that I do with our teachers centers the community, it centers the lives of our young people, it centers their voices, but it's all working towards some type of youth conference. And I'm proud to say that Newburgh was well represented at a youth conference we recently had. Next slide, please. Next slide. At a youth conference we had at Vassar College. I'm not too sure exactly the number, but I know that I believe there were over 50 Newburgh students from first grade all the way up to 12th grade who made the trip to Vassar College where they were able to present their work. And I know that there are some images. I know that it was well documented. It was part of the communication plan. And so our young people, the teachers, the administrators had a wonderful time. Folks, this gave our young people an opportunity to showcase their brilliance, to showcase their talents, and to showcase their confidence in participating in this event. And you should know that this is actually the fourth year, I believe it's the fourth year that I've been able to help organize and facilitate a youth conference in the region, in your region. And I'm hoping that we can make this an annual event. Now, next slide, please. Now, my approach to culturally relevant education, what I teach our teachers and ultimately what our teachers teach our students, is well aligned with New York State's Board of Regents and their policy on diversity, equity, and inclusion, where we make certain that we are in alignment with policies and practices that the Board of Regents dictates to us. In addition, next slide, please. We are highly aligned with the NYSED's CRS framework, the culturally responsive and sustaining framework. This is part of my own practice with teachers because when I talk about culturally relevant teaching, I want to make certain that we are well aligned with what the state is asking us to accomplish and what the state is asking us to do. Next slide, please. So in the future, we were very successful with our youth conference. We were very successful with our training of our teachers. And so now I'm working with Mrs. Moriarty, Mrs. Correra Soto, and Mr. Woody, as well as Principal Brooks, to continue this work. And so what you see on the screen here is just some of the things that we currently have planned. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to speak with your new superintendent to expand some of these ideas. What we want to do is continue this work, and we want to expand this work so then that way we can have more youth conferences. But I'm also interested in inviting Newburgh students and teachers to come to Buffalo to present at our regional youth conference, as well as to take part in some professional development opportunities as well. Next slide, please. So I'm just a big fan of celebrating our young people. These are some of the images from our youth conference, as well as from the My Brother's Keeper program. And next slide, please. And this is one of my favorite images. Yes, folks, that you see wrestling belts. You see our young men from South Middle School holding wrestling belts. 4-foot trophies and 3-foot trophies. When we talk about reimagining teaching and learning, this is what it looks like. And so next slide, I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to work with your teachers, to work with your young people and families. And I really look forward to continuing this work in the future. I'd be more than happy to respond to any questions or comments that folks may have. Thank you.
Board members, any questions or comments? Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Oh, Mr. Howard, yes, sorry.
Thank you, Madam President. So Dr. Hunter, what I love, what I saw at South Middle School, I love the engagement and the work that's being done over there. And you did use the word expansion. So my question to you would be, when will we be able to expand this type of work to our other buildings? Because I see the work that you're doing over there, and I was very impressed with the programs that they had over there in regards to this. But I would love to see this expanded to all of our elementary schools, all of our middle schools, and even at the high school level. Because when we talk about culturally responsive education, we talk about what that truly is and what it means. I believe that the earlier these programs are impacted with our student population and carry through from elementary school to middle school to high school, we'll see a huge difference in how our young people, how our boys and girls of color react in handling themselves in a culturally responsive way, understanding, being inquisitive, knowing the questions to ask, knowing how to ask questions, but more importantly, feeling valued. And I think that it's time for this to expand throughout our entire district. I don't know if that's something that you need to, that you can do, or do we ask you to do this for us?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Mr. Howard. To be quite honest with you, right, I'm ready to go, right? I'm ready to go. And so that's been part of the discussions that we have been having. Listen, at the end of the day, what we just showed you, we wanted to put together a pilot, almost like a proof of concept to show that this works. And so now, having conversations with your administrative team, being able to have the opportunity to speak with your new superintendent, we can now begin the process of talking about what this might look like at all the buildings across Newburgh, what training might look like for teachers. At the end of the day, folks, I am a curriculum and instruction guy. I work side by side with teachers to help them think about how do we take what we're using in our classroom and make it culturally relevant, while at the same time introducing new concepts, new ideas, new textbooks, new materials. So we are in that process right now. We are having those conversations right now. And I know that Mrs. Moriarty can speak more to it. I will be traveling to Newburgh, I believe it's next week, to work with the administrative team to come up with a culturally responsive education plan. We're going to talk about short-term goals as well as long-term goals, and all of this work will be aligned with the state. So I think the best way for me to respond also, Mr. Howard, is those conversations have been taking place, and we're in the process of doing that. Expansion is on the mind, and we've been talking for about 2 or 3 months.
Go ahead, Mr. Howard.
One more question, Dr. Hunter.
Yes.
So, would it be possible for you, not tonight, but if you can put some type of like a SWOT analysis together for the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in regards to CRE and what you face and what you've encountered and what you feel we may be able to do better so that this can be more impactful?
Yeah, I think what I can do is work with the team to put that analysis together, right? Because they would know the SWOT variables in Newburgh better than I would. I can certainly put together something more broadly, right? But I also like to make certain that we speak to it at the local level. So if you allow me some time to work with the team to come up with that analysis, I'd be more than happy to give it back to you.
Ms. Burton?
Thank you, Madam President. Is it Dr. Hunter?
Yes.
Hi, Dr. Hunter. My name is Ramona Burton.
Hi.
And I heard what you said in terms of the connection to the community. And so there are those of us who, a lot of us who are born and raised in this community, and we know the community in and out. And then there are folk who work for our school district who have no idea other than what they're told about our community. And so how do you make that mindset shift in an educator's mind who has been implementing a curriculum that has not been culture responsive to then expand their mindset so that they understand this community, which is, well, I won't go into the details. It's a lot of layers, just like there are a lot of layers in the school district. But how do we begin to identify what I consider are non-traditional stakeholders? And so what I mean by that is we have, just as we have a lot of folk who come into the school district who don't live in this district, live in this community, we have a lot of stakeholders in our community that do the same, the nonprofits that come into this community and don't live in this community, but make a lot of money, take it out somewhere else, and then continue to work with our kids and our families. But we have, just in this room today, we have stakeholders that I call non-traditional stakeholders who live here, who have toiled throughout their lives. We have a matriarch sitting at the front of our, this wonderful auditorium, who happens to be Phil Howard's mother, who has a plethora of experience, as well as other people who are very, very, very active and know this community inside and out. But you know what? They may not be available during the day to sit at a table because they don't get paid to do what they do. They don't get paid to make sure that our community is taken care of after 5 p.m., after everybody else who works here leaves here. So how do we make that shift so that we can, and I'm saying this to folk who sit around this table as well, how do we make that shift where we're looking at our non-traditional stakeholders? I call them non-traditional, but they're really not. They're the ones who've been here all along forever, toiling. And so begin to hear their voices, because most of those voices tend to be people of color. Yes. And who know our kids because they're out in our community working with our kids as well. So how do we make that shift, please?
Yes. Thank you for your question, Mrs. Bird, and for your service as well. I'll do my best to try to answer your question, and if I don't, please hold me accountable. When I work with teachers, I'm very upfront about this conversation here. I tend to put teachers into 3 categories. You have a group of teachers in Newburgh who want to do culturally relevant teaching, right? You have another group of teachers who are curious about doing culturally relevant teaching. They just don't know how. And then you have a group of teachers who don't want to do it, no matter what, right? The first two groups of teachers I can work with. And the way that I work with them is I take the teachers who want to do this, and what we do is we build from within. I give them the tools, they develop some more tools, and then they share that with the teachers who are curious about doing this work. Because the teachers who are curious about doing this work, part of where they're coming from is, I just don't know how. I want to do it, but I just don't know how. And the best people to help them understand are their colleagues, right? Because they trust their colleagues. You can think about this in terms of what's been happening with the vaccine, right? How did we get so many Americans to take the vaccine? Those who trusted their family members, they trusted other people. That's how they got convinced. Now, the third group that I mentioned, who no matter what, they're not interested in culturally relevant teaching. They're a human resources problem. They are a personnel problem, Mrs. Burton. And it may not be the answer that you like, but I need to tell it to you this way because it is difficult to change ideology, right? Ideology is difficult to change, right? I mean, imagine me trying to come in and change your belief system. And so when I say that it is a personnel problem, that's when administration has to step in and have a conversation with those individuals, because I am not going to be able to convince people overnight that culturally relevant teaching is the way to go, right? They're still going to hold on to their beliefs. Trust me, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've come across teachers, I've run workshops where teachers have been in there with their arms folded. They've come up to me and they've said, I like what you're saying, but you're not going to make me change the way that I teach. My lessons work for me, they work for my students, and I'm not going to change. There's nothing that I can do, right, at that point, because it's about changing ideology. But those first two groups, that's where we're going to make the change. That's where we're going to build capacity. And then the other thing that I want to emphasize is my work with culturally relevant teaching emphasizes the assets of the community. So when I talk to teachers about doing this work, I am very specific about what are the strengths that our children bring with them into the classroom. What are the strengths of their parents? And if our teachers don't know, I give them tools to try to find that out. There is a concept known as community cultural wealth. What is the wealth within our community? How do we stop looking at our community as a deficit and start looking at it as an asset? That right there is a huge shift for many people, right? It doesn't matter if it's Newburgh, it doesn't matter if it's Buffalo, or if it doesn't matter from where I taught in Compton. There are strengths in our community, there are assets in our community, and part of the problem is many of our teachers don't know what that is. I sat with a group of your teachers who talked about local businesses in Newburgh who want to be connected to the schools and to the district, right? Who want to be connected to the students. And when I asked, do your colleagues know about this? They told me no. Well, then how do we highlight that? That's how we begin to make that kind of change. But I don't want to sugarcoat this either, right? I can work with those two groups. That third group, that's a human resources problem. And we need to go back and have a conversation. That's a conversation that needs to be had with personnel. Because as I said before, it's hard to change ideology. It's one of the most difficult things to do. It can be done, right? But if someone is so set in their ways, and we know them, right? We know them. They're 5 years from retirement. They don't want to change about anything. It's difficult to force that. I hope I answered your question, Mrs. Burton. If I didn't, hold me accountable.
You answered it wonderfully. Thank you so much. But I just have something else to say to you. So Jason Reynolds, just so you know, over the weekend, Saturday, I was down at the Harlem Lit Fair, and guess who I met and have a picture with, and I have signed books by Jason Reynolds.
Yes, yes, I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
So, Mrs. Burton, let me just say this. And I know I'm over my time, but here's my plan. So Buffalo State has invited Jason Reynolds to come to Buffalo State. Jason Reynolds told us, I'm willing to come, but the only people I want to work with are your middle school students and teachers. So my plan, right, and I shared this once again with Mrs. Moriarty, with Mrs. Correa Soto, with Mr. Woody. My plan is to work with your middle school teachers and bring a select group of students from your middle schools up to Buffalo State to meet Jason Reynolds, to show him the work that they do. And somewhere in between there, I'll make sure that they get to Niagara Falls and all that stuff, and they get the campus tour of Buffalo State. The same experience that you had, Mrs. Burton, I want all of our kids in Newburgh to have.
Well, he said, just so you know, I said, you heard of Newburgh? He said, oh, I love Newburgh. I said, so that means you coming to Newburgh? He said, yes, send him an email.
Okay, then. So now I like the way you think, Mrs. Burton. So now we need to think bigger, right? How do we get Jason Reynolds to Newburgh?
Yes.
Board members, any other questions or comments? Thank you so much, Dr. Hunter. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, everyone. You too.
Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my items for this portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Forget. Board members, I'd like to do one other thing before we go into executive session. I'd like to do the people that are going to speak before we go into executive session, because we have a very, very long executive session. So I have a bunch of people that have signed up to speak. The timer is going to go up in a second. And so on agenda items, I have Sabrina Dolefinger, who has signed up to speak on agenda items.
I turned it on. Okay. Good evening. My name is Sabrina Dahlfinger. I'm an educator at Horizons. I have relatives, cousins, and friends who attend schools in the district, and I am a member of the Parent Alliance. I am also the interim education chair for the Newburgh Highland Falls NAACP, and I will be speaking to you in that capacity this evening. I want to talk to you about agenda items 3.1 CLR and 3.2 contract for workplace investigations. The NAACP would like to thank all those who have had the courage to come in front of this board and this community and speak their truth, giving voice to students, the community, and staff around issues impacting their lives. According to your timeline, the district has been working on implementing CLR since 2017. You have hired trainers, and the staff has had training, but it isn't enough. There is still a lot of work to be done. That's pretty evident by the recent events surrounding the Facebook post. That is the reason we need CLR and a diverse staff to support and sustain it. It is the reason we need people to advocate for our children and our staff, because not only was it insensitive, derogatory, and yes, we believe racist, it was a violation of the Crown Act and a DASA incident. According to the Crown Act, while 90% of black girls believe their hair is beautiful, the microaggressions and discrimination she endures has an impact on how she sees herself and trauma from these experiences cause girls to miss days from school. Teenage black girls are missing a week of school per year due to hair dissatisfaction. NYSED says this in regards to understanding the Crown Act. In 2019, the Dignity for All Students Act, or DASA, was amended by the Crown Act to add the definition of race that includes traits such as hair texture and protective hairstyles. It prohibits racial discrimination based on hair texture and protective hairstyles. It goes on to say school administrators can work to create a culturally responsive and sustaining school environment that reflects the diversity of its students, including their hairstyles, and supports student self-expression. The enactment of the Crown Act provides the opportunity for districts and schools to engage students, staff, and the community in the process of revisiting and revising their codes of conduct and dress codes to include the provisions of the Crown Act and the Commissioner's regulations regarding DASA. Under DASA and the Crown Act, schools are responsible for ensuring that teaching staff and other school personnel are aware of the Crown Act. School personnel understand that formal disciplinary action against students based on their natural hair texture and protective hairstyles is prohibited. School personnel understands that given their inherent position of authority over students, they are responsible for preventing racial discrimination and supporting all students' access to school, participation in activities, and inclusion for opportunities inside and outside of the classroom. Clearly, we failed this student and others like her. How is the district going forward from this? Hiring a more diverse staff who can lead these efforts is a must, but that is only the beginning. When you put these staff members in these positions, you must protect them when they are targeted for speaking out. You must protect and support them so that they do not leave their positions because of workplace harassment. That brings me to 3.2. This district must aggressively investigate these instances of microaggressions, harassment, bullying, and discrimination. I was reading an article the other day that spoke about a black woman being hired in leadership as a principal to support the critical race theory efforts. Very similar to what we understand this district does. They hire staff of color to represent diversity and ask them to guide work around culturally sensitivity, social emotional learning, and anti-racist practices, yet they are not being sustained or protected in this work. During her term, she experienced discrimination and blatant racism to the point of being pushed out and silenced. The district heavily emphasizes the need to hire more diverse staff, but what are we doing to retain the staff of color you have? There seems to be a loss of staff, specifically those of color. Are you conducting exit interviews for those who are leaving? For the sake of gaining insight, it should be best practice to use these measures moving forward when hiring new staff. The NAACP and Parent Alliance would like for the board to respectfully respond to our questions with answers and a plan as how to move forward. According to your policy number 3304, the Board of Education affirms its commitment to non-discrimination and recognizes its responsibility to provide an environment that is free of harassment and intimidation as required by federal and state law. So how are you going to put these protections in place for these individuals who speak out, whether they are tenured or non-tenured staff? How do you protect them from retaliatory behaviors? Are you conducting exit interviews, and will these issues be at the front of the workplace investigations? Thank you.
Thank you. The next person to speak on agenda items is Ms. Ramona Burton.
Good evening. So I'm Ramona Burton, born and raised here in the city of Newburgh, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself, my family, and all of those who are black and brown in this community who have come before this school district for many, many decades. So tonight we heard a presentation from Dr. Holly. It was a little different than what our original presentation was, but hear me when I say this is not a new mantra. We've heard it for decades, emerging from academic literature from the 1960s and 70s. Culture responsive practices in school and classrooms is essential in addressing achievement gaps and disproportionality of diverse student populations. So urban schools, including Newburgh School District, is not unlike other urban schools from which racial disparities are deep-rooted. The history of the magnet approach in schools in the Newburgh School District are tied to the 1960s, protests over school desegregation, and the educational reform model of public school choice to address educational inequity. Although magnet schools were and are extremely popular to ensure racial balance and seem to be the magic bullet for educational equity, they did not erase racial disparities in education achievement and opportunity gaps for mostly Black and brown girls and boys residing in the city of Newburgh and those living in poverty. And while the district continues to serve students from 4 neighboring municipalities with schools in 3 of those municipalities, there are large discrepancies in poverty and education between the city of Newburgh and those 3 municipalities, reflecting racial and ethnic disparities in education. In the city of Newburgh, the rate of economic disadvantaged high school graduates are disproportionately lower than any other subgroup. And even with a SUNY college, community college, and a 4-year private college in the city of Newburgh, the percent of persons aged 25 years and older holding a bachelor's degree or higher in the city is 16.7%. And the other 3 municipalities are 32%, 23.7%, and 50.7%. And to add fuel to the socioeconomic climate, here we are 4 or more decades later with community-based organizations endlessly competing for grants and donations to tackle the unendingly effects of poverty and educational disparities. So yes, the causes of educational disparities are complex, multifaceted, and historically steeped in systemic racism. And while poor health conditions, poverty, lack of education, lack of employment opportunities, exposure to violence or trauma are undeniable, hindering health-related and academic outcomes, the instability, stress, and the divide between home and school cultures are major causes of the underachievement and the disproportionality. Looking at my time. So for decades, we have appealed to you to do what is morally, ethically, and philosophically right for our Black and brown children. This is no longer a call for action, Mr. Howard. We're scrapping now. Okay, we're sparring for educational justice, racial equality, and equity. The long-standing established practices, school and community cultures, and mindsets that resist change, maintain control of what doesn't work for colored students and families, and permeate through our school district like a plague will no longer be tolerated. Cultural and linguistic responsive curriculum and pedagogy, I hope, is the standard in the Newburgh School District. Let's do this work once and for all. No more rhetoric, no more hiding the data, no more unanswered questions, no more fear, no more excuses, no more, no more, no more. It's been a long time coming, and now I hope and I believe the time is now. Thank you.
So now we have some people that are going to speak on non-agenda items. The first one is Ms. Francella Palmer.
Good evening. Please do excuse my attire as I do work a lot and I have to do it overnight tonight, but I would not miss this meeting as I did miss the last one. Because I don't want to let it get swept under the rug, which is the title of the reason why I'm here tonight, because that's what I feel like what's happening with what happened to my son. I don't really think, I'm not going to waste our time going over the whole incident. I think everybody pretty much knows why I'm here. Miss Dorgatti, Miss Kay Dorgatti, that is the art teacher that started the smear campaign.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
Please,
Yes.
please don't, try not to use anybody's name.
Oh, okay.
Because that's
Well,
like a rule.
there was also, well, the principal
Okay,
of, okay?
but don't use the names.
The principal of Gidney Avenue, I believe she is resigning this October. I believe she should have been fired because I still have yet to receive any policy as to what she did to my son. This is not a policy. What she did was wrong, and that's why she's retiring. She should have got fired, and should everybody who had anything to do with the matter. Still, I have yet to receive any policy as to what happened to my son. I would like to receive some policy from this here board as to why that happened to my son. What protocol is this? This is not right. The art teacher, she should be fired as well. Like, are we sweeping this under the rug? Can somebody let me know what's going on here? Because I don't plan to sweep it under the rug. This could have went a whole different way. I'm sure everybody's seen the 10-year-old boy that was gunned down by the police officer playing with a gun in a playground. So it's clear that our children are not safe. And if those officers that came to my house would have walked in, if the door was open and my son was playing with his toy gun or something another in his own bedroom, he could have been gunned down. I do not want this swept under the rug, because that call that I got when I was at work that evening could have went a total different way, because we are sweeping things like this under the rug and we're trying to make hindsight of them. Like, it's okay. It's not okay. If he had showed up at any of your guys' family houses, the police, saying this was a wellness check, when there was nobody hurt at my house, there was not even a problem. I was told there wasn't a problem by the school, by the social worker. When protocol was taken, I had no reason to think that anything was going to be a problem. And then I had the police sent to my house. Now, I would like for everybody to act like, this is a bigger matter than what it is, and let's not sweep this under the rug. She took my son's picture, a 7-year-old little boy, and went around the school and started a smear campaign against my son. He is not safe? Is that what you're telling me? Seriously, what is going on? She should be fired. There was another incident in another school where a principal did the same thing and she was fired. No, I don't know exactly where it happened at, but we all watch the news. These things are taking place everywhere. We cannot sweep them under the rug. Either, just like he said, idiocy, that's something we can't change. But through administration, we could get these people out of the way. Seriously, out of the way. Because we're trying to embark on a new time here where my people can be free. No, for real. And our children. No, this needs to stop. I don't know why just because I'm black it's a problem. And I don't know who said it was a problem. But it needs to stop. It's not okay. And y'all are sweeping this under the rug. And I work very hard. But I don't care how many nights I have to take off from work, leave work early. I'm missing out on overtime right now. Y'all should be paying me for my overtime because I'm a single mother with 4 children. And I should not have to be here for this. Y'all know this is wrong. If that was any of y'all family member houses, y'all would be going, and y'all probably have the money to get the lawyers and stuff. Don't think I'm not going to stop fighting, because this was wrong. And it should have never happened. And everybody who she went around to, she thought this was wrong. That's the same thing that happened to Emmett Till. Some white woman thought something was wrong, and then a black person was killed. That is what happened to my people hanging from trees. Some white person thought that what they did was wrong, and without even looking into the matter, just like what she did to my son, the principal at Gidney Avenue, went and made us think about it, and action was taken. But here I am, the mother of this child, came forth how many times? And no action has been taken. I took my son out of that school. I should not have to fear sending my son to school. Y'all should have took those people out of that school. I graduated from Gidney Avenue. I have 8 brothers and sisters, but there's 3 other ones of us that graduated from Gidney Avenue. My oldest daughter, she's 16, honor student at NFA. She graduated Gidney Avenue. My daughter, she's in South Middle. She graduated Gidney Avenue. My son, 5th grade, he's graduating Gidney Avenue.
Ms.
Why
Palmer?
does it have to be different for Tyler?
Ms. Palmer, I'm sorry, your time
No, I
is up.
see my time.
Thank you.
But why does it have to be different for Tyler? He should be able to graduate that school too, just like me. It's not right.
The next speaker we have is Mr. Ray Harvey.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ray Harvey. I'm coming to you tonight as a member of the Parents Alliance here in the city of Newburgh and the president of this local chapter. Before I get into the equity assembly that this district says they got, today the NAACP with the city had a plaque reveal over here in this courtyard by what this young lady was talking about, the mother that just left, about Robert Mullins, who was lynched in the 1800s because of accusation against him. So we take this stuff serious because it continues to happen. Maybe not physical lynching, but in the school district, not giving our kids the opportunity, education that is forwarded to other folks. So we definitely is not going anywhere, and things has to change. But we want to know the role of the equity ambassador team. Who are these individuals selected to partake in this committee? Are parents part of the team? You know, because it seems like the school district, if you look at their website, they got a lot of good things going on, but it seems that it don't pertain to people of color and to the community, you know, so that, to me, everything should be ran through the community. Not to say we got all the answers, but we should be working hand in hand. And we can't be having meetings, as I told you before, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's got to be when these parents is home from work. You know, so the Parents Alliance wants to be, you know, part of this team, so that we can make sure the predominant district that is represented by Hispanics and Black students is being protected. Everyone, it seems like the teachers are being protected. You know, the union is doing their job. We have to do our job in protecting our kids, right? And that's what we're here for. So, you know, we want to know. We want these, you know, the school board to answer these questions, you know, about culture sensitive. You know, I was listening to that doctor speaking about that. And, you know, to teach someone or try to change someone's mindset, that's hard to do. You know, I walked away from two of my Veterans Association because all the folks that is in there is 70-plus old white gentlemen whose mind is set on what they think of when my man kneeled for that flag, but it wasn't about the flag, and they made it about the flag. So we need to make sure that it's young folks involved, parents involved, and everyone else, stockholders in the community, is involved in all of these committees that you seem to have, but the community doesn't know nothing about it. So it's good, it looks good on paper, but how do we get that to the community? We got to do a better job. You know, the website, we can't rely on websites. You know, the portals, half of the parents have access to the online portals. So we have to do better. You know, every time I get up here, I keep saying that because we do. Communication to the community is important, people. You know, when you go around to solicit votes, you knock on people's doors. Let's do that. When we're talking about making the community whole again, let's go around and knock on doors. You know, let's talk to the folks. Let's really engage with the community because we're missing that. We really, truly missing the engagement from the board members, the district, and the parents. And we need to see more of you guys out in the community. All right? So thank you. Respond to the Parents Alliance on, you know, the responsibility, who who sets on them boards, and how do we become part of that board? Because it's two incidents just happened that, that sensitivity, that cultural sensitivity training is not working. All right. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. The next person I have is Mr. Zephon Barnes. No, or Mr. Zaidan Barnes is next. Okay. Next I have Ms. Tracy Quintana. Yeah, we can turn one for you.
We're here. He's just a little nervous.
It's okay.
You want to sit or you want to stand?
I'm gonna sit.
Luke, he goes to Bales Gate School. He's in Exceptional Learners Program. He came here because something's bothering him in his class, and he wanted to speak about it. Go ahead.
I want to be transferred to another school because my friends are getting my friends they're getting treated they're not supposed to be treated by my teacher, and I'm getting treated the way I be treated, but I want them to be treated the same I be treated.
That's all he had to say. He's been in the school for kindergarten through third grade, and he's had really great teachers, and the school's really great, and they have really good exceptional learners program. But every day he comes home and he is upset, and he says that his friends are being treated bad and that they're trying really hard. And we tried to talk to the teacher several times, we went to the principal several times, and they keep telling him some kids just need to be pushed a little harder, a little differently, a little harder, a little differently. But he has sensory issues, so he can't deal with hearing his friends, who he's known for so long, the same group of friends. I believe there's only 12 or 13 kids in his class.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small class with 2 teachers,
11.
and he wants to be transferred because he can't handle it. So he wanted to come up here and speak about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Come on. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Boyd?
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to echo what Ms. Delfinger said, as well as Ms. Ramona, as well as Ray Harvey. I'm coming to you as a stakeholder. I'm a stakeholder. I'm involved in several boards. I'm on several organizations inside of Newburgh and outside. I'm also the chairwoman of the Police Review Board. But today I'm talking as a stakeholder. And the reason why I mention those 3 people's name is because I echo the same sentiments. And the reason why I do that is because we deserve a right to sit at the table with the unions and bargaining. And the reason why I feel that is because it's a one-sided street, one way. If you have people that are stakeholders, teachers, parents, a multitude of diversity sitting at the table when they're bargaining these teachers' unions' contracts, you'll get a different outcome when we have these social media bullying by teachers. For one, my sister was an educator. She worked for the Board of Ed in New York City and was a specialized science teacher. And when they did a little trump of cards, as I would say, to get charter schools into effect in New York City, they made all the teachers take a certification test. And they lied to the teachers on their results about whether they passed or not, because they were drumming up to get all teachers from all different states to come in for chartered schools. And why? Because they don't have unions. That's why there was a class action lawsuit. Someone dropped the ball and exposed the Board of Ed for their trickery. And the class action lawsuit just finished and finalized last year, the end of last year. And they had to pay all of those teachers back, invest into their pension. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because if we make teachers accountable for their ill actions, we wouldn't be here today. So I'm asking for people, the Parents Alliance, I'm part of that. I may not make all the meetings, but I'm part of it too. We need to sit at the table. You guys have a contract right now that hasn't been signed yet, and we are asking for it not to be signed until people like I, myself, and other stakeholders are at that table to negotiate. Because this teacher did several wrongdoings. She was social media cyberbullying. She was texting and talking on her phone during school hours and tagging other people in to her charade. So no one deserves to get a contract signed until we have some stakeholders, Parents Alliance, NAACP, and any other parent who wants to be involved. Because this is a disgusting, right now, 8 days ago, I'm looking at the news break, and all they said is disciplinary actions. We want to know, what are those actions? And we have the right to know, the freedom of act, information. Don't just give us something posted in a paper and we don't know what's happening to her. She should be dismissed.
Next, I have Ms. Howard.
Good evening. I am glad that I'm able to be here. I'm 82 years old now. I thank God. I thank God. I was born here in Newburgh 82 years ago and have been here all my life except when I was in show business for 3 years. My heart is overwhelmed right now. And my mind was thinking, you know what? When I was a little girl, I went to Grand Street School, and I'll never forget this teacher who inspired me. Her name was Miss Fogarty, and she was a white teacher. So therefore, my first beginnings, I looked at white people as, wow, so nice. But then, as the years rolled by, and I got into doing some intense studying, I realized, come on, let's deal with it. It's not the color of the skin, it's the heart that's within. And we've got to realize that our children are the future. And we have to recognize all of our children as human beings. A lot of people profess to be Christians, a lot of churches and whatever, but where is the love? And I know there was a school board member here when he left. Mr. Stridon, he left. I'm very curious. I was wondering, why did he leave, or where is he with such important things going on this evening? I just like to say this. Come on, folks. Let's get this together. A lot of people sitting in here professing to be Christians, but where is the love? God said, I leave you another commandment that you love one another. Where is the love? And we need to start dealing with that. We got to crush this hatred that's going on throughout our country because it's destroying our country. We're all human beings, so let's start treating each other as human beings and not as animals because of the color of the skin. And I'd like to end this with this. I love all of you. I really do. But I write a column, which I haven't been writing for about 2 months now. But I'm going to get back to putting my column in the newspaper. And I'm going to really let y'all really know what Lily Howard really feels. And I love all of you, but I'm going to use tough love. And hopefully that tough love will stir and open up some hearts to start dealing with one another as human beings and not treating people like they're animals. I love you, but sometimes we have to use tough love. And that's what I'm going to be using. Tough love in my column from now on. And I'm going to maybe, hopefully, stir some folks up inside to know, you know what? I'm not dealing with the color of your skin. I'm going to be dealing with the content that's within. I love all of you. God bless you. And thank you for listening to me. And I'm looking at my son, Phil, over there. You look like you're hurting, baby. No, I see he's in a lot of pain. But I know we're all in a lot of pain. We all should be in a lot of pain for what we see going on throughout our land, throughout our country. Come on, folks. Let's band together. We're all human beings. So let's start acting like human beings and stop acting like untrained animals. God bless all of you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session. Excuse me? We have, let me count the minutes, okay? Because we might be up to time. Hold on a second. What do we have? 5, 10, 15. What's your name, sir? Come on up, Mr. Kennedy. You got 5 minutes. Thank you. And this is our last speaker.
How you doing, board? Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Listen, I love that speech. Love everybody for coming here. Love is cool. I like that. Yes, she's right. Everybody has to come together. It's a lot of work everybody's got to get. We got a lot of hate going on, but she's right. We got to get this good stuff going. I'm sorry I got wasting your time here. Love what you guys did with cleaning up the school on 9W. I want to volunteer to help a little bit more, though. You got those mugwort weeds in front, still making a mess. And I saw, as buildings and grounds, I'm willing to weed whack those down or something to make it really nice and neat. It's been sitting there. Got to make that a little bit neater. You got it's all clean. You can park your cars, but let's make the whole thing nice and neat. And I'm willing to do that. I've listened to the CRRL thing. I was a teacher here for 29 years, 4 years before that over at Wappinger School. My son went to school here. We're not black or brown, but we understand what you guys are going through. I grew up in Poughkeepsie. I get it. This stuff that I wanted my kids to go to school here so that we could see this and they could get this. This needs to be done. One thing I used to say when I first came to become a teacher here, We needed to make like a young teachers group with the kids right here in our school district so that the kids would come up and they would want to be the teacher. So we get more of our own kids from our community, the black and brown kids that would come up and become the teachers and get in, and they would get everybody so that they could be seen and we could do this. We have to make a change. What is happening, it's the same as it was when I came here 37 years ago. Nothing has changed. We got to do better. I mean, I try to do the best I can. I have my little rowing club down at the river. I try to be as nice as I can to everybody I see. I let everybody in. I can only like touch a few handful of kids. You touch thousands every year. You can do something. You've got to do something. You listen to these people. Now, what I used to do when I was a teacher and I had a problem, I'm not saying like whatever this happened with this weave thing, and I'm just hearing about it tonight. I'm sorry, I'm out of touch. But I would say, hey, let's get everybody together and let's work something out and work together on a project to make it better. All right? Let's not like whip this person and whatever. Let's say, hey, maybe we can make this better. We can learn from this mistake. A learning experience. Let's learn, and maybe whatever the reason was, they didn't understand, but now they can understand, and we can learn and make things better so that people will understand better. I think that we could get something out of this. Instead of something negative, let's turn it into a positive. Turn it forward. Make a project. Work together. We was talking about African American stuff. After I retired 6 years ago, I went up to SUNY New Paltz. I started taking some anthropology classes. They have the bones from African American people that were up at the Broadway School. They're still sitting there. Let's put them somewhere. Let's make something special. Let's do something special with them. They've been sitting there all these years. Good. Let's do something with it. Let's do something with it. But, okay, so now let's do another thing with school. Let's teach empathy. Let's teach understanding of other people's cultures. Let's really get into it so people don't make these mistakes. My son took all these teaching classes at Newport. He's coming home, he's telling me all the time, this is what we're learning, Dad. This is what, you didn't understand these things. I wish you guys had hired him here because he really wanted to teach here in Newburgh. Wish you guys had hired him. Now he's going to end up somewhere over in Dutchess County. You know?
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session for the following purpose. Matter made confidential under FERPA, employment history of particular individuals, matters leading to the employment of particular individuals, the review of programs and placement of students with disabilities, collective bargaining under the Taylor Law, NTA, NASA, and CSCA, and to obtain advice from legal counsel. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Burton? Yes. Ms. Green? Yes. Dr. Henderson? Yes. Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Levenstein? Ms. Maida? Yes. Ms. Mineo?
Yes. We'll be back. Oh, question, wait, did I say questions or discussion? Questions or discussion first? I'm sorry. Roll call, Mr. Clerk. Sorry.
Ms. Burton? Yes. Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Levenstein? Yes. Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridarn?
Yes.
That concludes my item, Madam President. Thank you.
Before your sign off, Mr. Forget, Personally, I'd like to thank you, and I know the board members would, for steering the ship through a kind of rough waters this year. So thank you very much, Mr. Forget.
Thank you.
Board committees, Buildings and Grounds Committee, Mr. Levenstein.
Thank you, Madam President. So the Building and Grounds Committee met June 15th, and the committee discussed with Mr. Velez the NFA 1965 heating and cooling pipe repairs, the building management system update, NFA graduation preparations, and we discussed with Mr. Ramjug capital construction update, including funding and scheduling. And the committee also discussed redefining its responsibility to include capital bond projects to bring more items into public meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Levenstein. And I did the Personnel Committee, and all items discussed at Personnel Committee appear here on this agenda tonight. So we're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Exceptional Learners, Mr. Bayer.
Thank you, Madam President. Exceptional Learner Division has one item, 5.1, for the board's consideration.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Levenstein? Yes. Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Mr. Baer. We're going to go to our Assistant Superintendent for Finance, and she's not here, so we're going to go to Ms. Peterson.
So the Finance Division tonight has items 6.1 to 6.4 on a consent agenda for this evening.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items?
Point of clarification.
Yes, sir.
We have to, the 6.1 needs to be amended. Correct,
Okay.
Mr. McCoy?
No, sir.
That reflects the current calculation?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Sorry. Would any member like to separate out any of these items? I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Levenstein? Yes. Ms. Maida? Yes. Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton? Yes. Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Madam President, I have 4 items to be added to the agenda.
Let's take them one at a time, please. Let's read the first one.
The first one is, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the interim superintendent of schools that the Board of Education hereby terminates its services with Capital Markets Advisors LLC no later than June 30th, 2022.
I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call to add.
Mr. Levenstein? Yes. Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Levenstein?
The next resolution, whereas the district voters approved 2 propositions for district-wide capital improvement projects at the annual meeting on Tuesday, May 21st, 2019, which included mechanical air conditioning and indoor air quality related items. And whereas the Board of Education previously approved the plan for the use of the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriation Act of 2021, CRSA, fund allocation, which included dedicating such funds to mechanical and air conditioning and indoor air quality work. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Newburgh and Lawrence City School District hereby authorizes the use of $5,245,433 of CRSA fund allocation for district-wide capital improvement projects approved by the district voters on May 21st, 2019, specifically those scopes of work involving mechanical air conditioning and indoor air quality at Heritage Middle
I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
Roll call to add.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Maida?
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Maida? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
The next item, be it resolved that the Board of Education rescinds Resolution 6.2 adopted by the Board of Education on June 14, 2022. Whereas the Board of Education encourages the participation in extracurricular activities, be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the participation in the field trip on the dates indicated or such other dates that are approved by the interim superintendent or school's designee. My brother's keeper, my sister keeper, 6 through 12, up to 80 students and 10 faculty to attend the field trip to Howard and Morgan State Universities and historical sites in Washington, D.C. from 6/24/2022 to 6/25/2022 at no cost to exceed $25,000. Funding source MBK Challenge Grant. Be it further resolved, whereas the Board of Education encourages participation in extracurricular activities, be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the participation in field trips on the dates indicated or such other dates that are approved by the interim superintendent of schools or designee. My brother's keeper, my sister's keeper, grades 6 through 12, up to 80 students and 10 faculty to attend the field trip to Howard and Morgan State Universities and historical sites in Washington, D.C. from 6/24/2022 to 6/25/2022 at the cost not to exceed $30,000. Funding source MBK Challenge Grant.
I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda, please.
Second.
Roll call to add.
Ms. Maida? Yes. Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Maida?
Be it resolved that the Newburgh Enlarged City School District Board of Education hereby approves the conference's request below for such other dates that are approved by the interim superintendent of schools or designee. Yves Jean-Jacques, Microcomputer Tech, Chestnut Street, 2021-22 Administrative Leadership Retreat, Danbury, Connecticut, 6/28/22 to 6/30/2022 in the amount of $510.34. Funding source, general and federal.
I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda, please.
Second.
Roll call to add.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Maida? Ms. Mineo?
Yes. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Burton? Yes. Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Maida? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. That concludes the items for finance.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Mr. McLemore.
Thank you, Madam President. On the Human Resources agenda, I have items 7.1 through 7.11 for your consideration on tonight.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items?
Yes, Madam President.
Yes, sir.
I would like to separate out 7.6.
7.6. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
7.7, number 42, and again, it's for my wife, so I'm going to abstain. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'd like to entertain a motion for 7.1 through 7.11 with the exception of 7.6 and 7.7, number 42. So I'd like to entertain a motion.
Second.
Questions or discussion on those items? Yes, sir.
So Just looking at 7.2 and 7.3, it's to abolish and create a position. So I try to ask on these situations, when we're abolishing a position, are we laying off an employee? I know generally we don't, but in these cases, we're not?
May I respond?
Sure. Yes, Mr. McLemore.
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or discussion on these items? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron? Yes. Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Let's move on to item 7.6, please. I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Madam President, I'd like to move the table 7.6.
Do I need a roll call before we table?
No.
Okay. So I need a second. Okay. Roll call to table, please.
Mr. Stridiron?
No.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes. We're going to move on to item 7.7, number 42. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
How many do you have to add, Mr. McLemore?
Madam President, I'd like to request permission to add 5 items, one at a time.
Thank you. Let's read the first one, please.
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the interim superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby ratifies the provisions of a memorandum of agreement between the district and the Newburgh Supervisors and Administrators Association dated June 21st, 2022, as presented to the board at this meeting for a 1-year extension to the parties' collective negotiated agreement that is set to expire on June 30th, 2023, such that said agreement shall now be extended through June 30th, 2024, and be it further resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the expenditure of those monies necessary to implement the economic provisions of the parties' 2018 through 2024 collectively negotiated agreement.
I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda, please.
Second.
Roll call to add.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron? Yes. Ms. Burton?
Yes.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Go ahead. Number 2.
Sorry. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the interim superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby rescinds the portion of Resolution 9.19 adopted at the Board of Education meeting of June 14th, 2022, granting tenure to Katiana Simon in the assistant principal tenure area effective close of business on June 30th, 2022, and be it further resolved that the Board of Education hereby suspends Katiana Simon with pay until June 29th, 2022, and then without pay effective June 30th, 2022, pending further proceedings regarding her employment.
I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Roll call to add.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Maida? Yes. Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridarn?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein?
Go ahead, Mr. McLemore.
Be it resolved that employee number 062122-2 shall be suspended with pay during the pendency of said Section 3020A education law proceedings.
I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Roll call to add.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridarn?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Maida?
Yes.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Stridarn?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes. Item 4.
Be it resolved that employee number 063122-1 shall be suspended with pay during the pendency of said Section 3028 law proceedings.
I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda, please.
So moved. Second that.
Roll call to add.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridarn?
Yes.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion on this item?
Second.
Somebody said second, I thought. Thank you, Mr. Stridarn. I'd like to entertain no, where am I? Questions or discussion? Sorry, it took me a moment. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein? No. Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridarn?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Number 5.
Be it resolved that employee number 064122-1 shall be suspended with pay during the pendency of said Section 3028 education law proceedings.
I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
Roll call to add.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Maida? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridarn?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved. Second that.
Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridarn?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
That concludes my items, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLemore. Okay, we're going to move on to the Clerk of the Board, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Madam President. I have the approval of the minutes from June 14th, 2022.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clark.
Ms. Maida?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridarn?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein? That concludes my items, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Yes, Mr. Forget.
Madam President, at this time, we'd like to honor and thank Dr. Henderson and Mrs. Maida for their time and commitment to our students.
Okay, now you guys are going to dislike me a little bit. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session for the following purpose. Matter made confidential under FERPA, employment history of particular individuals, matters leading to the employment of particular individuals, the review of program and placement of students with disabilities, and to obtain advice from legal counsel. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Burton?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Maida?
Okay, we may do business when we come back.